On this episode of the People of Pearland Podcast.
It has not slowed down at all. Yeah. But I know that well. I had a BlackBerry and I had a beeper. People used to ask me all the time, are you a doctor? I was like, no. I work for a newspaper. They're like, you do? I go, no, it's not that exciting. Okay.
Stay tuned for more. Welcome, everybody, to the next episode of the People of Pearland Podcast. I'm your host, Josh Lee.
I'm Kathleen Pade.
And our fabulous guest today is our very own Joan. We have our own Joan.
Own Joan?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think anyone else here is named Joan.
Yeah, I can't think of a...
No, I can't.
I'm sorry, I got sidetracked. We have Joan from our IT department. What's your technical title?
Application Specialist.
Application Specialist. But you do a little bit of like everything.
A lot of different things.
You do project management. And,
yes.
That's sort of your, at least the way I think of you, that's your like, your passion.
That's
maybe?
my passion.
Yeah.
But application support. Project management is a big part of that.
Okay.
Yeah, because in my previous life, I was a project manager putting in applications for newspapers.
Putting in applications for newspapers?
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean by that? Say that. Explain.
Well, I was the director of application support for the New York Daily News, which was owned by the Chicago Tribune.
Ah.
And I got transferred here 10 years ago, actually. It was 10 years this month, I think. So.
Because I was going to ask you, because I mean, obviously from your accent, you're not from around these parts originally, I don't think.
No one here has an accent. I'm looking forward to hearing the twang, but I don't hear anybody with a twang.
You never hear anybody with a twang?
No.
If Josh talks to a bunch of other guys, his Texan accent comes out real hard.
Okay.
Oh, really?
Just letting you know
Josh?
that.
It also happens when I talk to my dad. Yeah, apparently. I don't know. I don't hear it.
I don't hear it.
We hear it.
Really?
Oh, yeah, we do. Oh, yeah, we do.
That's fascinating.
We'll see if we can find some clips from previous podcasts.
I need to hear this like on tape. But I do have the further west I go, or like I bet you if I put on like my leather work gloves, that I keep in my truck, I guarantee you it'll come out. What you're going to want to do is...
Oh, gosh.
Did you put on a cowboy hat?
I do, yeah. I take one with me when I go. We have a place in Rock Springs where we go hunting.
There you go.
And it's a very small town. And I bet you when I go into that town, too, the same thing. Because, like, everybody there is super friendly. And you go to buy corn, and the store, like, the guy, everybody talks to you. And the ranchers are all standing around griping about things. And... they're comparing notes on who's buying what. And I kid you not, I walked into, there's this ranch supply store, right? Fun fact, you remember that miniseries Lonesome Dove?
No?
Joe remembers it. All right. Lonesome Dove was a miniseries back in the early 90s, late 80s. It had, it had
Robert Duvall, Tommy Lee Jones, Diane Lane.
Bunch of famous people.
Wow,
Yeah.
You're good.
Roll it off, Joe. You want to switch seats?
And so they had this big horse-drawn carriage, like a wagon, and they have one of the wagons that was used in that miniseries in this ranch supply store, right in the middle of it.
Wow.
And so I go in there because I need a grate, a metal grate for a custom-built barbecue pit. So we don't have dimensions for it. Like I measured it, and you can't just go buy like a Weber grill for it. You know what I mean? And so I go to this ranch supply store, and I'm like, yeah, I need a metal grate this size by this size. And the guy was like, hang on, I think I got some scraps in the back. And so he goes and just lops off a chunk of metal for me. Anyways, while he's doing that, I'm standing in the store waiting. There's this giant dining room table, like 12 or 15 people, and it's really, really cold. And I kid you not, they have a fireplace, no chimney, no nothing, just open fireplace with a fire going in the building.
Wow.
And these guys, it was a Saturday morning, and these guys are sitting around drinking coffee, talking. And the guy sitting at the table, because I'm standing kind of close to it, he just starts talking to me about how much he hates the taxes that he has to pay and how it's not fair and who did this. And I'm like, I don't know you, brother. Like, but I was just one of them. that day. And I feel like that's a Texan thing, you know?
To be in a fire hazard environment?
Yeah. Well, yeah, no. We're very dangerous people, I feel like. But no, I feel like it's a Texan thing to be like just talkative and friendly. And
friendly.
When I get in those types of situations, I feel like my Southern draw that's probably when it rears its head.
So, Joan, are you from New York or from Chicago?
New York.
Okay, New Jersey. See, we're just
Kathleen's from New Jersey.
Yeah.
We're
just
in New Jersey.
Woodbridge,
Okay.
Middlesex County.
There you go.
Yeah.
So where in New York are you from?
Well, I'm actually was born in Buffalo, and then we moved to Long Island when I was little, and then I pretty much lived in Long Island for a long time, and then I lived in New York City actually for about 14 years.
Cool.
Yeah,
Wow.
the city was great.
You had an apartment in New York. And,
Yes, and I was only 2 miles from work, and I used to be able to walk there.
Wow.
And then they moved to Jersey City.
That's where I was born.
Really?
Yeah, Jersey City.
Because the rent's cheaper in Jersey City, right? Like
Oh,
the real
yes.
estate and stuff,
Yes.
yeah.
Well, they put in
Jersey
all new
City's
presses. That's when they started getting color and everything.
Oh, interesting.
And yeah, so they went to Jersey City.
So when you lived in Manhattan, what part of town did you live in?
90th and 3rd. It was
90th and
Cagney
3rd.
Place was right
Okay.
there. It was
Yeah,
a really
yeah, yeah.
nice area. There was so many restaurants and places to go.
That's
And I used
upper-
to walk all over the place.
Upper.
Now I don't walk anywhere.
What is it? Upper East.
Upper East,
Side? Yeah,
yes.
Yeah. So the first time that I visited New York, my wife's family they would go up every summer for classes at Juilliard and different things like that, and they'd end up spending like 3 weeks to a month up there, and hotels got so incredibly expensive they just
Yes.
rented an apartment for the month. And the one that they had was Upper West Side. I guess it was 72nd and Broadway.
Yeah.
And there is a hot dog place called Gray's Papaya at 72nd and Broadway.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, you could get 2 hot dogs with whatever. I got them with sauerkraut mustard and a papaya juice for like $3. And that was like the first thing I ate, and I ate it about every day while I was there. And so that's just burned into. So every time I go now, anytime I go,
You got to get it.
it's the first stop. Like dragging my luggage and everything, I'm going to 72nd and Broadway. I don't care if it's on the way or not. I'm going to stop there and get hot dogs and a papaya juice, and it is so magical. Such
Well,
a
we
good
don't
time.
go to Gray's Papaya, but every Christmas we go back to New York, and the first thing we do, we get off the plane, we put our luggage away, and we go get hot dogs.
Really?
Yeah, but we go to Ben's Deli.
Oh, okay.
Last year it was $11 for 2 hot dogs.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, I know.
Uh,
We can't go there anymore.
Regular sized hot dogs, not even foot long.
No, they're not foot long. No. Maybe if you put them both together.
That feels like a lot for hot dogs.
Doesn't
though.
it?
Clearly,
Yes.
they're not following the Kirkland model, or the Costco model, rather. So you saw family, obviously, in New York? Or,
Yes, yes.
Are they still on Long Island, or are they
Well, pretty much not everybody. I'm one of 9 kids.
9?
Yeah, I'm number 7.
Wow.
Yeah, so we've got one in Florida, one in Virginia, one upstate New York, and then me here in Texas.
That is wild.
Yeah.
My sister-in-law, coincidentally, she lives in upstate New York right now. She lives in Albany.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I did the Times Mirror's circulation system. I helped put that in.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so you started your career in newspaper, or
No, actually in bank.
oh,
I got out of high school and my mom said, I think that you need to get a job and get and I want some board money.
yeah.
So I could
So
type.
she started charging you rent?
Sure. I was one of 9.
Yeah, that
You
makes
have
sense.
to, right?
That makes sense.
So I could type very fast. And so when I got out of high school, I typed in shorthand for 3 years because I wanted to be a secretary.
Sure.
And so I went to a bank and I had my one interview, and they gave me a typing test. They said, well, check out this typewriter. We'll give you a little bit of time, and I want you to do these paragraphs on this letter, and I'll come back in a minute, and then you can get started. Well, while she was gone, I typed out the letter, and I was all done, and she came and she said, okay, you can start now. I said, well, I'm done. So I said, well, we're going to put you in IT. So that's how I started in IT.
Very cool.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
Love IT.
So that's an interesting field to love because it's so fascinating and still so evolutionary. I mean, it's still
yes.
changing so incredibly rapidly. I remember my stepmom, she got into IT with through Texaco back in the day. She started. Oh, where did she start? I want to say she started kind of along the same lines, like towards a clerical path, and then started moving into information technology as technology started evolving. Mm-hmm. And towards the end of her career, I remember she was one of the first people to get a BlackBerry. And
wow.
This is when it just did email. Like that was the only thing it did. And I was like, how cool is that? Like, you can check your emails anywhere. And she goes, it's just a leash. It's just,
it is.
I'm
it
like,
is.
and I never, but I mean, she grew up in it,
Mm-hmm.
and of course, then they had to figure out how to support those systems. And it was interesting at the time, and it still hasn't slowed down. I mean, that was 20 years ago.
It has not slowed down at all. Yeah.
Um,
but I know that well. I had a BlackBerry and I had a beeper. People used to ask me all the time, are you a doctor? I was like, no. I work for a newspaper. They're like, you do? I go, no, it's not that exciting. Okay. I'm not like, an editor or anything like that. But,
so so at the newspaper, you set up like distribution systems. Describe to me what that is.
I had all the business systems for the paper. And so when Y2K came, we had to replace everything. So I had HR, payroll, circulation, anything associated with the business. So if it didn't have to do with actual production of the newspaper, so I did the one thing that I did that they actually had me go around the country and install was circulation system.
Circulation system.
Okay. And the circulation systems were pretty complex because you had to do routing for the newspapers, and you did invoicing and billing, and you dealt with banks, and it was pretty complicated.
That's wild.
And but I got an opportunity to do a lot of things. And then when Chicago Tribune sold the Daily News, we had to find a data center because they had moved the computers out of the news. They were going to consolidate and centralize all of this support. So I had an opportunity to help them. I was like, okay, well, I want to be the last one out so I can turn off the lights, and they're going to give me a big bonus. So this is going to be great. So, they decided that I did such a great job, they didn't want me to go.
Wow.
So then I moved to corporate, and then I started installing systems for them.
And then you said they transferred you here 10 years ago?
No, not the Tribune. I had left the Tribune and went to Hearst Newspapers.
I see.
Which is Houston Chronicle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And had you ever considered moving to Houston before that point? No,
I had friends, though, that I had worked with that had one of the systems that we put in, and we got to be really good friends, and she lived here. So I was like, I knew I wanted to move south.
Really?
So when they said, well, if you take the job, then you have to go to south. And so I talked to my husband. I said, well, what do you think? You want to go? And he was like, well, we were thinking of the Carolinas anyway.
Sure.
So we're like, okay, well, we'll try it, and then if we don't like it, we'll just maybe go to Carolinas. But after we got here, and then I got let go, we said, well, we'll stay. It was nice. We liked it a lot.
That's
I liked
crazy
it a lot.
how that works.
I think I liked it more than him, but
You
I
think
love
so?
it here. I think it's great. Like you said, the people are so friendly.
You don't mind the heat?
I don't at all. I love it.
So you're a Texan?
I'm a Texan.
So I
need the twang.
We can work on that.
I want someone to teach me, but I'm not hearing it.
As a Texan, I'll tell you there's two types of people. The Texans and the people that are trying to get here, eventually.
The wannabes.
Exactly. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what's the other part of that phrase? I'm not Texan, but I got here as fast as I could. So we're happy to have you here. You fit right in with us.
Thank you. I'm
always
glad to be here.
fascinated by those experiences because so my dad, grew up in Friendswood, moved about a mile from his dad's house, and still lives in the same place.
Wow.
I grew up in the same place, moved to Dallas, so I moved 300 miles, and then right back to about 2 miles from where my dad lives. So I'm always fascinated with people that, with stories where people move, and it just, I don't know, it gives me anxiety and I'm inspired at the same time.
Oh,
so
I like Dallas too.
Really?
Yeah, it's nice.
It's a different, it's way different than Houston.
It's more like New York, I think.
I agree with that. I was actually talking with a friend last night who's moving from Houston to East Texas, and I mentioned that we made the move. Actually, it was from College Station to Dallas, but I was not looking forward to it. It was sort of similar to your situation. My wife liked it more than I did, and I, was grumpy about it for too long. I should have enjoyed more of the experiences that I had there because it was a great place. There was lots of culture, lots of good food, great people there too. I didn't like the cold in Dallas. I'd much prefer the heat down here.
Yeah, they have more seasons than we have.
They do have actual seasons.
Right?
I always felt like they got the worst of the cold weather from Oklahoma and the worst of the hot weather from the rest of Texas. And so you'd get like super, super cold in the wintertime and super, super hot in the summertime. Oh. And here it's like, it's warm, kind of all the time.
Yeah. I did live in California for 6 months.
Really?
That's all I could last. I couldn't.
But which part of California?
Sunnyvale.
Oh, yeah. See, San Diego, Southern California, I could do.
Oh, that I heard is beautiful. I've never been, but I've heard it's really pretty.
It's a different vibe. Didn't you go? No, you went to LA last year?
Yes.
Yeah. Have you ever been to San Diego?
No.
It's way different than the other towns in California.
Cool.
You're doing a great job as co-host.
When do I interrupt? You just keep going.
Whenever you feel like it.
Okay, all right.
Do you not know me? Sorry. Kathleen, take it away.
Hey, Joan.
Hi, Kathleen. How are you?
Oh, I'm great. How are you?
Good, thank you.
See, this is why we need him, so he can keep going. He can keep
He's
going.
doing a great job.
Ahead. Yeah. California.
Well, as always.
San Diego.
California.
Yeah.
So I will admit, fun California story. We went and visited one time, and they had these shirts. It was like block lettering, and it said Cali for Nia. And I was like, so California is for this Nia person. And I'm like, who is? And I don't know. No, I'm not joking. I saw so many of these, and it never clicked. And then one time I saw one, and I was like, California. Oh, now I get it.
Was it like the number 4, or was it FOR?
FOR.
Oh, you just didn't.
No, I couldn't put it together.
Okay.
It struck. I remember I saw one. It just kind of hit me that it was just spelling out California. So there's that. So you go back to New York once a year.
Yes.
And you like living in the Houston area. What do you think is the biggest difference from, geographically or culturally speaking, like coming from New York? What's the biggest shock to the system here?
Well, it's not as fast paced. You have a better quality of life, I think. You can enjoy people. You can enjoy, just in New York, everything is go. You got to do it. You got to do it now. You got to do it quick, and it's just very, very competitive. And it's also older. So we're in a nice area. We're in Pomona. So there's trees and it's just more open. In New York, you're right on top of each other. Not that we're not right on top of each other, but sure. There is space here. Yeah. There's a lot of greenery and it's just nicer.
So do you like working for the city because we move at such a fast pace, or?
I like working for the city actually is because of the people.
Really?
During Harvey, that was
I shouldn't sound so surprised. I actually really like the people too. I'm sorry.
And yeah. So during Harvey, I got to experience, because I got called in for it after because someone left and they couldn't get back because it had flooded so badly. And that was one of the first time that it really hit me that the people here are so dedicated and can I say it? The amount of pay people are getting for what they contribute.
Sure.
It is all about service and selflessness.
Yeah.
That it was just very nice to experience. And after I experienced that, I said, you know what? This is where I want to be.
Yeah. Did you, how long have you been with the city?
8 years.
Cool.
Yeah, 8 years in April.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Back to the pay thing. I think you're right. I mentioned that to a lot of people because it always surprises me too. Nobody works. I think in public service, generally speaking, to get rich.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Yes.
I mean, there's not a path to financial, success at a wealthy level.
You're not after the fancy cars and the big house.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
And
it's genuine.
And it almost makes me wonder if public servants, no offense to public servants, but if they've got something wrong with them, because especially at least at the local level, I mean, the commitment and dedication and sacrifice that they make to keep a community, to make a community, to build a community is nothing short of inspiring.
Yes, absolutely.
And it's great to see. And hard to compete with, I see people and I'm like, man, I wish I could keep up with that person, but I can't,
Yeah.
And I think that that's a good thing. I think that, I agree with you. I like being in a group that's that committed to something bigger than themselves.
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
How did you, had you ever worked in local government before this job?
No. No. I went from the bank to newspapers. Like, after I came back from California, someone I worked with at the bank recommended me for the job at the newspaper. And my father was like, why would you want to work for a newspaper? They go on strike. I was like, I'm not ever going on strike. Don't worry, I'm not going. I said, you know what? At my age, I'll do I was 27. I said, you know what? I'll do 1 or 2 years, and then I'll just go get another job. Because everyone in IT did that then. It was 2 years was probably the max you stayed any place. And after that, I was like, once I get kind of settled in, I'm settled in for good.
Yeah.
I don't.
That's good though.
Don't see a need to have to leave if I've already become comfortable with the people and know what I need to do. And you start to get good at it, and you get, where you know the applications and you know the people. So you're like, why would I disrupt that?
Yeah.
Because especially if you can feel like you make a difference.
Absolutely. That's a big thing. If you feel like you're stagnating or stalling, then, maybe you start to get a little antsy. But if you're progressively making a difference or being challenged, then there's always new adventures to have.
Yeah.
One of my professional experience, I came from a marketing background, and same thing. To move up, you had to move out and move on to somewhere else. And so, 2 to 4 or 5 years at a place. The last agency that I worked there for almost 5 years, I think. And I had just exhausted, every possibility there. And there were always new business pitches, but I was tired of that grind. And in ad agencies, it's a human-based business, kind of like local governments are, but you're only as strong as your last client, win or loss. And so you lose a big client, you lose people. And you gain a new client and you add people, and it just oscillates back and forth. And so that the pressure of that always looming, like we have to do this pitch, otherwise we're going to lose people.
We used to call it, you're as good as your last movie.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And here, so I've been here, it'll be 7 years this year. So I'm right there.
You are right there, yeah. I remember when you came.
Do you?
Yes, I do.
And now that I think about it, we used to get to work together a lot more than we do nowadays.
Yeah, I know.
But back in we switched the intranet from the old SharePoint to the new SharePoint. And Joan and I were connected to the hip on that.
Going through the old stuff was tough.
Woo. But the reason I think that I've been satisfied here the longest is because of the inspiration, but also because of the endless challenges in a good way that this opportunity, this organization presents, because we're always doing something. And I never know from day to day. One day I'm on a water tower, and the next day I'm, hand delivering calendars to people, or, doing a presentation for 500 people. Every day is an adventure.
Yeah, the personal growth.
Well, and there's no industry, I think, that is as unique as local government in that sense specifically.
Yes.
And I don't think it's for everybody, you know. I think that you have to have you have to approach it with an open mind and an open heart for sure.
Yes.
So that's interesting. I mean, clearly, you know, you've honed a very good set of skills, and now you get to apply them to this great community. Do you see yourself? What do you see for you're going to do this? You know, forever and always.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. You're going to move up.
I don't have any kids. This is my kids. You know, this is my family.
That's good.
Yeah.
Are you ever want to do anything outside of IT, or you like IT and that's the...
Oh no, there's enough challenges there. And it always, you know, there's just so much room for growth with what we're getting into with Power Automate and Power Tools from Microsoft. They're great. So it gives you an opportunity to you could actually learn at self-pace and then find opportunities to use those skills. Sure. It has really been very rewarding.
Yeah,
I have people calling me, asking me for, you know, solutions to little things. And
I do it. I asked you just the other day, I think, for a photo album. Yeah. So that has to be one really gratifying thing that, you know, you get a problem that's never been asked, at least in this organization, and then you get to fabricate a solution for it and then see it come to life.
It's all custom.
Yeah. And your fingerprints on literally everything that we do as an organization.
Yeah, a lot. And then I had the opportunity to do CityWorks.
Yeah.
And help with that implementation. So that was really, really good.
And that's it. That is no small feat because that's an enterprise level system.
Yes.
I mean, that touches a lot of stuff, touches all of our permits, touches, you know, I don't know how much, probably $3.5 million in revenue, something along those lines on an annual basis. Might be more than that. I might just be making numbers up as I'm going. Do you know how much we do in revenue?
So many.
For permits specifically? I don't know the answer off that.
Of course
I guess it depends on
if I had a budget
the permit,
person here,
right?
I could tell you. Well, it does, but it is a line item in our budget book, and now I'm blanking on what the number is, but it's a lot. And with the CityWorks implementation, it'll be that much easier for people to sign up for permits, new things,
get emails, get alerts, go 24/7. They can go online and do whatever they need to do.
And none of that migration would have been possible without you navigating that.
No, it was a whole team.
Right? Well, but it requires somebody keeping that team focused and on track.
Well, we did have implementers, so I can't take credit for it. I mean, I was thrilled to be part of that because that was what I always did.
Yeah.
Application support and project management. So because every time you implement a system, you're constantly upgrading it. And with that, you use a little portion of those project management skills. Yeah. Right? So having an opportunity to do a project this big, it got me gave me a chance to work with a lot of departments that I wouldn't necessarily know. I wouldn't know the people. Right. I wouldn't know, what they do as much as I do now. Because we work with the fire marshal's office, city secretary, permitting, of course. I mean, we work with a lot of people. Parks.
Yeah, I mean, as far as internal services goes, I mean, IT touches everybody, and even systems like that are, I mean, they're relegated to a handful of departments, but nobody else has that cross section. You know what I mean? There's nothing else that is that sort of universal, but so prescribed to our specific needs. And I think every piece of technology we have is that way.
Yeah, I think so too. Which
is why we need an extremely strong IT team with an office full of Joans to make that a reality.
Oh, thank you, Josh. But that is actually one of the things too about IT. Our IT here, people don't leave.
Right.
I think
that's saying something for sure.
I think so. It says a lot for the team. It says a lot for the organization and the people of the organization.
Yeah.
I mean, you have a great team.
So you think that's because of Dan?
I do. And Paul.
Yeah.
And John.
Paul.
Mike. Yeah.
Is like low-key one of my favorite people in the city.
Paul?
Yes.
I know, right?
Like,
you can't, oh my gosh. Paul is great.
His humor is just like, it's so pointed and so dry, and it's almost like he tells jokes like they're not even for anybody. You know what I mean? They're just like, he's just going to float it out there, and if you happen to catch it, you're one of the lucky few. Not that they're that highly elevated. It's just like he'll say things real quietly, and you're like, you just made a joke. It gets me every single time.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
And also a very talented individual.
For sure.
And,
I've never met anyone like him. Totally. He's great.
So during the pandemic, so Paul, for those listening on the internets, at the time was our security. What was his title back then?
Cybersecurity.
He was cybersecurity, yeah.
Something. I'm terrible with titles.
I think before that he was something else, though.
Yeah, but he was our cybersecurity
architect.
expert.
He was an architect.
There it is. Yeah. So I got an email. I was at home, fortunately, and I got an email that said, like, hey, one of your pictures is infringing on our copyright, and we're going to sue you. And dummy me didn't bother to do any of and I clicked on the link, and of course it's malware. And fortunately, I wasn't on the network here, but like, I don't know. I just shut my computer and I was like, oh no.
Don't look.
That's going to do anything. And I called Paul immediately and said, hey, so remember that thing you said to like, don't click on suspicious email links? Yeah, I did that. And I just hear him go, I said, good news, I'm not on the network and I just shut my computer, so what do you want me to do? And he said, just bring it to me.
That's cool.
And of course I had to take cybersecurity training again. And then I gave him my computer and he put it in a secure environment, and he came back to me later and he said, that was a really fascinating challenge. He said it genuinely was malware. He says, good thing. He said, you did the right thing then. He said, but it was interesting for me to be able to like track it down because he could see where it was pinging off to and what it was trying to do. It was trying to download other things to my machine. And so thankful that I have people that are patient like that in my life. But for the people that work in your department, I don't know how you do what you do, honestly. How you put up with the people like me out here.
We have a lot of good customers.
Yeah.
We do.
I appreciate your optimism.
Yeah, Paul is the kind of guy that he does so much, and he could have a line out the door, but if you go to him with a problem, he stops what he's doing and he has time for you.
Yeah.
He doesn't rush in. Well, I gotta go. I'm late. Okay, what's the problem? What do you need?
Yeah, he's a very calming individual.
He is. He really is.
I got to work with him when we launched the Pearland Water customer portal.
Oh, yes.
He was very instrumental in that. And I always appreciated, the meetings we'd have, because so much of it fell on IT to make sure that everything was connected correctly. And how he managed all of that, I have no idea. But it's impressive.
Yes, he is very impressive.
What y'all do might as well be magic.
When I first met him, I told him, I said, everyone keeps talking about Paul. And I'm like, nobody could be that great. And then I met him, and I was like, yep, he lives up to the hype. Yeah, he's good. He's a very calming person to have in that department.
Yeah.
He's a good
Yeah, you have a
influence.
good group all the way around.
Yeah.
We enjoy our IT people. Who were we activated with last week? We had Red and Riley, and then we had a couple of GIS people there too. Dan was there for a little bit, but it was, even in emergency situations, they're just like calm, cool, and collected, ready to help out with whatever we needed. So it's a good group.
Yeah, it's a very good group.
So obviously you have a life outside of work. What does Joan do for fun?
I told Jasmine I don't have any hobbies.
No hobbies? You just go home
Actually,
and stare at a
no.
blank wall?
No, I do Sudoku. New York Times has these puzzles. Do you ever do the New York Times puzzles?
I do them all the time.
Right, Kathleen's here.
Wordle.
Oh.
Do you love Wordle?
I do. So
I do.
in order, I do the mini crossword, Wordle, connections.
No.
You don't do connections?
That's how I do it.
Oh. Like down the line, then it's, then I do the little, what's that one? Letterbox.
The letterbox.
I leave Sudoku for last because it takes up the most time.
Yes,
So I'll
I do
move
too.
easy, medium,
Yep.
hard. So, wow.
The hard sometimes I don't get. So.
Yeah. That new one,
Oh, I'm not crazy about that.
That one-
Strang or something? What
Yeah,
is it
I think it's
Strands.
Strands.
Yeah,
that's
I'm not crazy about it.
That one, the first couple, they were pretty easy, and then now I'm just like, what does this mean? The hint will be
know.
like, off the wheels. And I'm like, what do you mean off the wheels?
Yeah, the only people that know about that are the people that were in that meeting when they talked about it.
Yeah.
That was it. Nobody else.
Yeah.
So this is specifically in the New York Times?
It's an app. It's like a New York Times mini games app.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's
And they have a
free.
couple of little ones. They're not,
Yeah.
The only one I don't like really are tiles and strand.
I also don't do the tiles.
Yeah, I don't
I'm
like
just like,
those
the
around.
tiles are like,
What are the tiles?
it's kind of like Mahjong, where you just have to like match the tiles up, but you kind of try to go in a streak because they're
Okay.
layered up. So like
Right. Yeah.
a Mahjong example would be like if a 5 is over a 2 and you take the 5 away and then you connect the 2 that was left to another 2 and then you take what's after that 2 and connect it to something else.
That makes my brain hurt.
Yeah, it's mostly pictures, so they're patterns of shapes like triangles and borders and things and what have you. And then, I mean, you can win it, but I think the fun in that one is the streak. Like, how long can you go before you? But that one's not as fun as the others.
Yeah.
Yeah, the puzzles are. I always try to beat my time for like everything.
And this is
Sudoku.
not stressful?
No. It's
No.
It
relaxing,
sounds
actually.
stressful.
I mean, medium Sudoku for some reason is very difficult
Isn't
to
that,
me.
that's harder than a
Yeah.
hard one.
Yeah. Like,
That
I feel like the
is.
medium is like the warm up to the hard because once I finish the medium Sudoku,
The
I'm
hard
like,
one is easier.
yeah, I'm
Yep.
like, I
Last
don't
night's-
understand this.
Last night's was so easy. I was like, wait, something's wrong here.
Yeah, I didn't do last night. Actually, I haven't done like the last 2 or 3 days.
Oh, so they just release one a day?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it all changes.
Yeah.
And
So
they're little. They're
Yeah.
nothing major.
They don't-
My sister now is sending me her Wordle scores, so
Oh,
we
yeah.
compete.
Yeah.
So Wordle's in the same?
Wordle is in the thing too. Yeah.
That's one that I feel like I should be good at, but I'm not. And
There are some words that just kind of.
Just get rid of the E, the A. Once you know your vowels,
Well,
not so bad.
My
right?
starting word is
Y a
trash.
vowel, though?
Oh, mine is stream. Steam,
Oh.
steam.
Steam?
Yeah.
Oh, that's smart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you got your S, your T, your E, and your A.
That's nice.
Those are major.
Yeah.
Could you start with jejune?
You don't want to double up letters, though.
Oh.
Because then you're wasting.
Yeah, you're wasting.
You know.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah, Josh.
yeah. So sometimes.
Jejune. I learned this word yesterday.
Jejune?
Jejune.
What does that mean?
Okay, it's
Means
just
naive.
Oh.
in.
What language?
No, it's English. Kenny sent me this word. I had to.
Here, I can prove it.
Yeah.
said-
I gotta Google it now.
You
because
said Jeju, like I was thinking like Jeju Island, and like,
no, jejune.
like, oh, I'm from Jeju Island. I'm a Jejun.
What? You are?
No,
Oh. I'm pretty sure you're not.
I'm
but okay.
not. I don't think that's a thing.
I gotta Google it again. Jejune.
Jejun. You want to hold that up to
It's
the
an
mic?
adjective.
Now
Naive.
say that with the Texas twang.
Jejune.
Oh gosh.
Naive, simplistic, and superficial. Jejune.
Oh.
It would be
Jejune.
jejune of me to think that I could stuff the word jejune into this sentence conversation.
I think my favorite word is pedantic.
Pedantic.
I love
that
that
is a. I feel like that's a word Joel uses, isn't it?
Oh, that's definitely like that's got to be a word that Joel uses.
Yeah. Pedantic. Why do you like
that right?
word?
I don't know. It just has like.
It means like. It means like unnecessary.
Yes, you're getting into unnecessary detail.
Yeah.
Repetitively.
Repetitively. Gotcha.
Yeah.
I see.
At least that's how I interpret it.
Yeah. My friends always they pick on me for using words like viscosity. That's one.
That's a great word.
Or Schadenfreude,
I've
which
never
is
heard that.
that's a German word. That is German. Joy at the misery of others. It's a very specific word. But I like one time I made my algebra teacher cry, and she was mad, and I was like using different words to describe, are you upset? Are you perturbed? Are you, and I kept going, and she started giggling finally, and she complimented my vocabulary.
There you go. You got out of that one.
No, I still got detention, but I diffused the situation, so there was that. So you do Sudoku.
Mm-hmm.
You clearly like words.
Mm-hmm.
What else do you do? What?
Nothing. No, I've taken a lot of classes for work.
Oh,
for SharePoint and
just for
Teams
fun?
to learn because I want to be able to. When people call IT, I want to be able to help them, and I can't help them if I don't know.
Sure.
And Microsoft's always changing everything all the time. You come in one day and someone will give you a call and say, "Hey, what about this?" And I was like, "That's new."
That's the irritating part about
on
technology nowadays. It used to be they'd have to ship something done and packaged, and now they're like, we can send a patch out later. Let it go.
Yeah.
That's good. Continuing education is important. I myself am a lifelong learner.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like you have to be the IT person in the family at home too?
Joe asked, do you feel like you have to be the IT person in the family at home as well?
No, actually, I have a brother who was an IT, he was in IT, and he was a VP. So they go to him.
Nice.
They don't bother me. Application support now. You can go vice president.
See, I feel like I'm the default IT person, even though my degree's in communications or marketing. Nobody understands. Well, even in council meetings and stuff, if they can't find an IT person, they look towards a communications person. Like, hey, my screen's not working.
Well, your equipment must be you have to be technical to put it all together.
Yes.
And get a consistent, you have to have that aptitude, right?
Yes. And I think by nature, the job that we do a lot of times isn't a thing until we make it a thing. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So
you create it.
Right. And so we can often look at a problem and go, I don't know, but I'll figure it out. And so it's probably not too much different than IT.
No, I don't think it is.
We do have a tendency to break things, but hopefully, with the idea of making them better.
If you don't break it, you're not going to know how to fix it.
Exactly. If you don't push it, how do you know where the limit is?
You do learn best if you fail.
Yes.
Right? It sticks with you.
I like to say we either win or we learn, We're moving in a positive
It's when you don't reflect on what you did wrong
right.
that you're not learning.
Yeah.
Right? You need to stop and give it a minute to just say, why was that wrong?
Yes.
What can I do better?
Yeah.
Just a list of confusion quotes right now.
Confusion
No,
quotes?
it's the project management.
Confucius, like very like,
and learn to fish.
Yes, those kind of things.
Yeah.
That's why in project management we always do lessons learned.
Right.
You get everyone together,
wash.
and everyone has a different perspective on what was it that failed, and how could you make it better next time. And if you don't go through that piece, it's very difficult to take the next project and make it a little bit better, a little bit easier for everybody.
Have you been trained in the agile development cycle, where you launch something and then you test it and you optimize it and then you learn from that and then you go through and do the whole thing over again?
Yeah, I like that so much better than the old way.
Yeah.
That was called waterfall, where you just did everything in sequence. And you had to get the whole project plan done up front. Meanwhile, you don't know anything about the project. You know how to spell it, But, Agile is great.
Yeah.
Because you design it as you go. You guys probably have that in your job, too,
Well,
right?
we kind of tried throwing me into project management, and it didn't quite pan out, but theoretically. Really?
I mean,
I took like one course of intro to project management.
But we have, an actual project management system in place now because of you.
Yeah.
Don't sell yourself short, Kathleen.
Yeah, okay. Kathleen.
Anyways.
And speak more during Talk to People of Pearland.
Talk to people more.
Talk to the people of the People of Pearland.
But anyways, I just think it's like fascinating when it comes to different evolutions of project management and the cycle. Because in my head, like when I think project management, I always think, okay, what do I want the end result to be? And I never think past that. I never think past like the beta. Well, I do think past the beta stage, but I never think like
the sustainability of it.
Or like the patches that have to come out, like having to go back and be like, all right, the hot washes, as you said.
Well, and I don't think without experience, I don't know if you can, like that's a muscle you have to exercise to you make enough big mistakes that you go, man, I really need to watch out for, or try to smoke these out before we get to that point. Because I remember I built a dashboard. It was wholly built in Excel, and it was a great idea when we started. And the whole concept was there was one page that was unlocked that was printable, that was then fed by a full database built in the Excel book itself, but it was client formatted. So all they had to do was print it, and then it was ready for executives and all that good stuff. And it worked for about the first year, and then the tables got too big, and then you move a thing around or try to shrink some stuff, and the formulas break, and so we had all of this development work, and we ended up having to redo it all, and so it's things like that like everything's going to have a shelf life, but making sure that it's not frustrating the whole time you're using the thing, I think is an important part of successful project management. But I don't think it's a thing you just know. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You got to learn it.
You can't, right?
Yeah.
You can't know.
That's true.
Until you start doing it, and then you'll learn. But to keep it simple is harder and takes more time than it is sometimes to do it more complex.
Victor likes to say there's this quote from Mark Twain in a letter that he wrote that he says, "I'm sorry, this letter's not shorter. I didn't have the time to write one." So he writes a longer letter because he doesn't have the time to read it and trim it and make it more concise. But simplicity is key to success. I mean, the simpler or more replicable a thing is, the higher the likelihood that it's going to take off, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Lessons learned on the People of Pearland. Talking to the people, learning the lessons.
I'm starting music lessons.
You're starting music lessons?
Yeah, so I'm taking piano.
Wow.
What?
But that just reminded me, like, we were like classmates in high school, but so I guess it's weird to be like my instructor. But we were learning some basic things, and he was like, "It's really simple. Like the things that go." That get on the Billboard Awards are never like really complex symphonies. It's always just really simple notes. And as long as you can just replicate it, it becomes memorable. So you go, sorry, the only thing that I can think of is this metalcore song. That's right. Bring Me the Horizon. Can you feel my heart? It goes do, 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 do. And it just keeps going that way. And it's just so simple. But that's what keeps it going. Yeah. Just like proper and good software applications. I don't know. Yeah.
Well, but there's something to that. I mean, not to get too deep in this conversation, but
already there.
One of the things that I learned from my choir teacher in high school, music is effectively mathematics. In popular music, you get a rhythmic, beat that's very simple. It's soothing to the human brain because we like that repetition, we like that consistency, because things that tie out very comfortably for us make us feel comfortable. Software is a more complex version of that. At the end of the day, it's ones and zeros,
Yes.
When you break it down to its simplest form, it's just the end result's more complex.
And that's the war, I think, between like Apple and Android. Like Apple users, we tend to like more simplistic things because it's just easier. But I know a lot of people in the IT industry, I don't know if you're in that included, but my brothers both are hardcore Android people because they can just go in and customize however they want it to be so that it suits them. Yep. Whereas us Apple folk are just like, I'm swiping my thumbs, and then like there it is. This isn't a video series or anything. Just
well, and I think that that ease of use piece of it, that's you're always going to have IT people in the background making sure that that's possible in a reality, and I think you're going to have very few people that appreciate the experience of making a thing work and work well. Most people just want to use it and like I don't even know how it's made, just make it work.
Yeah. how can it help me?
Yeah.
How can it help me help my job better?
Yeah.
Right? That's what you want to do at the end of the day. That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
How can you help somebody else do their job a little quicker, a little better, and enjoy it maybe a little bit more because it's not so hard.
I was actually on the way back from my appointment just now. I made I tried to get Siri to save a reminder for me, and it said I didn't have any apps for reminders. I'm like, that's weird.
You don't have the reminder app?
Well, I do now. Apparently,
you
I
uninstalled
uninstalled it at some point, and so I reinstalled it, and I had it set a reminder for me for next week, so I could remember something about that meeting when I go back to it. And I said to myself out loud in the truck, I'm going to start using technology. Like, I'm going to use all the technology for all the, like, to try to make my life as efficient as possible. I'm probably not going to do that, but like setting reminders, like that's a great way to, just have Siri like, hey, I don't need to do that. I don't need to go create a calendar appointment and name it and do all those things.
Right.
The software will do it for you if you allow it.
I forget many things, and without my Apple Watch,
Really?
I would forget everything. I have a hair appointment later today, and I only remember that because my watch just buzzed. So, and hold on, there was something. See, I'm already forgetting what it was. It was my psychiatrist appointment. I had missed a psychiatrist appointment, and so I scheduled another one for like the next week, and I put it on both my phone calendar, well, my phone personal calendar, and my email calendar, so I'd get the notifications. And Outlook does, the 15-minute one. And I'm like, okay, cool. And it's a remote appointment. So I'm like, you know what? 15 minutes, it takes me 2 minutes to walk to my car,
Yeah.
And I forgot it in those 15 minutes that I forgot I had a psychiatrist appointment and I missed it. And my psychiatrist almost let me go as a patient. He didn't. I'm still sane. But yeah, I was like, I'm sorry. I'm going to change my appointment reminders to 5 minutes before for virtual events. That way I can just log in and be like, I'm sitting here, I'm doing nothing else. 15 minutes, I think I can do a lot of things. But nope, I'm optimistic. And then I forget.
Yep.
Yeah. But it's great to just be like, hey Siri, remind me my tea is done in 3 minutes. That's really what I use it the most for at home, steeping tea.
I did, the boys had a dentist appointment. I always set them at 8 o'clock in the morning. And I always check my work schedule day before just to double check everything. So it always, 8 o'clock in the morning, don't let the boys go to school, take them to the dentist. And this time, for whatever reason, I saw it the night before, and then that morning just went on about my merry way. Took Henry to school, Ben got on the bus. I got to work and opened my calendar, and I was like, dang it, I was supposed to take him to the dentist. No big deal. They rescheduled for the next week. Get it on the calendar, same exact thing. Look at it the night before. They have a dentist appointment tomorrow. Next day, did the exact same thing.
Oh,
Completely forgot about it.
Maybe
so now you're looking for new dentists?
No, thankfully. They were very gracious. But and the next time we did actually make it to the dentist because I only needed that third reminder. But so I can appreciate that. And we're going to try this. That's the thing about like everything has a season. Like I'm going to try a thing, and if it works, then I'll keep doing it. And if not, and it needs to go away, that's fine. But
at least you try.
Yes. Progress, not perfection. What did you say those were? Confucius. Yeah, Confucius.
I don't really know. I just
no, I know.
They're isms.
Yeah.
I just decided. Yeah, colloquialisms. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a thought. I know, right? Occasionally. This is like a major subject change, so I don't know where this came from. But because we're talking about technology and the inevitable exponential growth it has, what has AI done to the IT team? Like, what's IT thinking about AI in local government?
Well, I'm not part of probably that higher up discussion, but I think that the danger is where people use it to do their job. And they start sending out things that
like
they should have looked at. Because I know when I use AI, because I'll use AI for my coding, right? And a lot of times it's just wrong. and I'll say, no, that's not this. I got this error message, and I think we're missing a piece. And I was like, oh, absolutely. My apologies. You're right. I'm like, what is that? It's supposed to be right?
Yeah.
But even spell check things. You know, my concern about this, actually for the future more, is that AI scammers, right? It's going to get more, it's going to get better
More
and better
sophisticated.
at mimicking the real thing, right? And that's going to be a big danger, I think, because you won't be able to get those little things that you have, the little alerts that you learn to watch out for. They might not be there or as obvious as, you know, with AI. But I think that's the danger, is that people take it verbatim thinking, oh, AI is going to be perfect. No, it's not. Not yet, anyway. It may one day.
And I suppose that's, in a way, I mean, from the first computer to the first internet connection, there's always been a risk associated with connecting to things. And I think one of the most significant, or at least from my perspective, there's a trade-off of safety and security for convenience, right?
Yeah.
We use AI to make things faster and more efficient. The risk that we take with that is that we're opening a new technology that can be used against us, or it can, you know, subvert the work that we're trying to do. I always, I mean, I wonder, like, if we didn't have it, you know, it wouldn't be, I'm sure we would still be busy doing other things and find ways to.
But think about this, how much longer, like, let's say you have kids, right? And you're in your 20s. Technology we're using today is going to be obsolete for them.
Right.
You know, very quickly, very soon. But the thing about AI that scares me more is that people are going to stop thinking.
Yeah.
And that children won't learn how to think.
Yeah.
You know, and that
Critical
strategically.
thinking, especially, that's a hard skill. It takes a lot of practice and a lot of real determination to do and do well.
And like we were saying before, if you don't fail, you don't learn, and you won't fail if someone's always telling you exactly what to do.
Right.
Or something, actually. I don't know if you ever watched The Big Bang Theory. Okay, so when Raj is he's talking to Siri, and everything he does is her. He thinks she's a real person, and he thinks she's wonderful. Hey Siri, what should I have for dinner tonight? Yeah.
But those kind of questions are always just like easy to me. I'm like, I don't want to think right now. What should I put on Netflix, Siri? You know,
Well, yeah.
like, you know,
Yeah.
just
But
easy
you're making
things.
that choice too.
That's true.
But you know what you like to watch, right?
No.
But there's so much selection now. It's really it can be hard.
Yeah, that's why it's like
that's
that
true.
content paralysis,
and
whatever it's called.
it's kind of why I kind of prefer, if I could, go back to like satellite, because I don't have to decide what to watch. Somebody decides it for me. Or why I'll go to Aldi instead of HEB. It's like, oh, cheap.
It's a curated selection.
Yeah, it's a curated selection where you can afford the groceries. And it's like, cool. I don't have to think about Cheerios versus Heart Healthy Cheerios versus Honey Nut Cheerios versus Kroger Cheerios. Versus, you know, like there's just different versions of Cheerios, and I just want
What's the Aldi version
Cheerio.
of Cheerios? Like
it's probably
Cheerios?
it's probably like
Oat circles.
oat circles or something like that. Yeah, it's
round
something.
cereal.
Round oat circles.
I sent over the group chat that Aldi had their version of Mango Cart, and they called it Mango Ride. And then I learned that you guys don't know what Mango Cart is, and I lost my joke.
Honey Nut Crispy Oats.
Honey Nut Crispy Oats.
There you go.
Oh.
Yeah.
I don't know how they get away with branding this that
This
close,
looks just.
but kudos, Aldi.
yeah.
I do love Aldi.
I love Aldi so much. We got a lot of groceries yesterday, only for $70-something. It was
Wow.
nice.
Wow.
That's the way to do it.
Yeah. Tons of produce.
And they have good little like lunch kits and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
You can pick up a Caesar salad there for like $2.
Oh, I thought you meant like their little bento boxes.
Oh, they have those too. Yeah.
Yeah, they do. They have little bento
I will
boxes.
say the Aldi here in Pearland is before your time, but that's where our bowling alley was, and I miss the Pearland bowling alley.
I never knew there was a bowling alley here.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
true. We don't have any bowling alleys, do we?
My friend
Alvin's
Big
the
John used to
closest, I
work
think.
there.
Big John.
Big John Moore.
Big John Moore.
Yep.
Did he have the Texas twang?
He did, yeah.
And a cowboy hat?
He did.
Fishing in brackish
and
waters.
Boots. You got to have boots. You
He
have
had
that.
boots as well. And he worked the counter at the bowling alley and lived actually in there's an apartment complex right there off of Old Allen. He lived right there and worked at the bowling alley. And back in the day,
there's a lot. In my head, I'm thinking there's a lot of apartment complexes there. The one the PD was at a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, fun.
Yeah,
fun.
Have you lived in Pearland a long time?
Yeah, my whole life. I mean, other than the time I lived in College Station for a while and then in Dallas for about 10 years. But technically I lived in Friendswood. But when I grew up here, I lived in Friendswood too. And I went to Pearland schools. So
oh, wow.
Spent my time split between the two. But.
See, I would definitely have thought you would have an accent.
Well, I think I probably do at times. I probably do have an accent. I don't know.
Code switching.
I don't know. I don't hear.
That's what they call it.
What?
Code switching.
Code switching?
Yeah. I
so
think
like when I'm talking to different people, I have different accents?
Yeah.
Fascinating.
It happens to me quite a bit.
Part of it is probably my best friend and I growing up were enamored with Beavis and Butthead. And so we were constantly working on like that imitation. And so that probably washed out a lot of the Texan accent.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I thought it would have like hardened it.
No, because Beavis and Butthead they don't have any accent.
They don't have like they're just, nah. That was more of a SpongeBob, yeah, than it was a Beavis and Butthead.
It's close enough.
No.
I haven't done it in years, so I couldn't even tell you. But I was Beavis, he was Butthead.
Surprising.
So yeah, no, I don't know. So we always like to wrap these up. We don't do any prescriptive questions or anything, but we always do like to ask people. We talk about our why statements a lot, why our jobs exist, why our organization exists, and things like that. So we always like to close out with those. So have you ever thought about you're here, you've been here for almost 8 years. Obviously, you have a whole career in IT, but why do you do what you do?
I really like it. I mean, I don't know what else to say. It's just very rewarding. It's pretty much, I couldn't imagine doing anything else.
Wow.
I really couldn't. And I don't ever want to not do it.
Yeah.
And when I got here, there wasn't an application support team. So I would like to think I helped convince that, Dan, that, we should have that part of IT that where the architects weren't trying to do both, like the polls, trying to do both application support, which is front end, dealing with the customer, right? Mm-hmm. And then the back end, trying to deal with the servers.
Yeah.
So usually in private sector is
keep them separate.
Because each of them are a career, right?
Yeah.
People spend their whole lives trying to learn enough to, to keep up
maintain
with it.
one part of that.
Yeah.
Well, that's
hopefully
very concise. I liked your answer. That's the cleanest answer we've gotten yet. So.
Oh, thank you.
Anything else? Any closing words of wisdom? Comments? Anything else we should know about the Joan? The only Joan that works for the city of Pearland?
The one and only.
No. Oh, actually, one thing I did forget. I did volunteer at the Colonnades, the senior home.
Oh.
That was rewarding.
Really?
That was, for like 4 years, I went there twice a week. I'd go there.
Very cool.
I made some very good friends.
Awesome.
Lost some, because that's what happens there, right? But very, very rewarding.
Interesting.
Yeah. But that's it.
Cool.
Other than that, I'm pretty boring.
I would not say you're boring at all.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for joining us. Thank you all for listening to us online or wherever you are. And we will see you next time.
Thank you.